The hell with
it. Hey,
nobody comes in either.
That's fair. Yeah, we don't really have people joining us on Twitter, but that's okay because we'd rather them join us on Facebook and YouTube. Absolutely. There's our check marks. Welcome in, guys. It is 2/22/2022. And it's not 2:22 yet, but it's 6:33 a.m. where I am, 7:33 probably where a lot of you guys are. And that means it's time for an episode of Broncos for Breakfast. I am Nick Kendell and joined by, for these morning shows as always, coffee in hand, Chelsea jersey wearing Scott Kennedy. Good morning to you, Scott. How you doing?
Happy Champions League Tuesday for sure. No, is it D-Day for Aaron Rodgers? It's definitely Champions League Tuesday. I know that. But we will see. There's been a lot of news for a quiet little Monday or Tuesday with 150 football players going to the NFL Combine again, and Aaron Rodgers up reminiscing. Is he saying goodbye to the Packers, or is he saying goodbye to football? I say hello to first day of the jersey with a little yellow trim. This is Champions League day for me. So we got the new background and ready to talk some football.
Yeah, absolutely. Who does Chelsea end up playing today?
Lille from France.
Yeah, Lille. That's right.
So only in the Europa League tournaments, the Europa tournaments, UEFA tournaments, do you play teams from other countries. So it's very similar. Big time European soccer is very similar to college football if the conference championships meant something to other conferences other than the SEC, and you only played each other in those tournaments, and not cross-pollinate and have these you played them if you only played them in knockout tournaments instead of basically regular season games. So it makes it really cool. It's kind of like the way college football was 10 years ago when you were playing 11 games and you might schedule Texas and Penn State in August or something like that, and that game was a knockout game. So it's very cool. Very cool.
Sounds very cool. I won't stand for the Big Ten slander, but other than that, it's all good. Let's get DWI guys coming in saying good morning.
Real quick on that one. The minute you don't make the big championship game and still make the playoff, they just told us the Big Ten championship doesn't mean anything. Or what was it? Didn't they pick Ohio State when they didn't even make the championship game a couple years ago, or did they just lose it outright?
I do not recall.
I think Ohio State got pipped and didn't even make the Big Ten championship game. The Big Ten champion didn't make the playoffs, and Ohio State did. That told us all I need to know about that. The Big Ten, what they thought of the Big Ten championship, and that's on them.
Yeah, I do not remember that specific incident, but you could be definitely right. But, I mean, God, Ohio State, one of the 3 best programs in football. I get it. Good morning, gents in Broncos country. Today looks like AR announces his decision. We'll see. There's going to be a lot of news today. Aaron Rodgers stuff. We'll get into that. We're going to get in the combine stuff. Also, guys, I'm nerding out because the Broncos are actually going to make their coordinators available for a press conference today, which is kind of unheard of this early. So I'm hoping that we have some major Dorcas conversation as far as
major scheme. Dorcas.
Yeah, God, I want to hear what Ejiro Evero is going to do and what are the concepts besides the anecdotal, talking in platitudes. Oh, we want to throw the ball deep. We want to rush the quarterback. How? Tell me how and why.
What makes you think he's going to tell you anything? What you guys always get into these press conferences like they're going to tell you anything. They don't tell you anything.
If you ask pointed questions and you back them into a corner. I was in mock trial for 4 years because I was a major nerd in high school.
Yeah, you put these guys on trial and they're gonna pull your credential and kick you out of there.
You know what? You're right. That's why when I went to the combine and I got to talk with Elway, I asked some questions that I don't think were as appreciated by Elway. But that's okay because I'm just some kid from Iowa who, take away my credentials, whatever. But we got DWI guys coming in saying good morning, gents in Broncos country. Today looks like AR announces a decision. Good to see you, Ethan. Luke Wright, good morning, Nick and Scott with the coffee. We got running Money Moore coming in saying Rodgers isn't coming to the Broncos. Let's set our eyes elsewhere. We'll see. Who knows? Gosh, I think I read that as he's chasing after Shailene Woodley and feeling reminiscent and wants her back, but who knows? US Dave saying morning all. EJ's in the house saying morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. Sunny days here with the 2/22/2022. Awesome. We got
Deuce is wild.
Yeah, Deuce is wild. RIP Canada. Don't know if that has to do with Ukraine or anything. Who knows? Or the Winter Olympics. But all right, Sean Burns. Good morning. We're going there, and we got DWI saying still no Pookie, Scott. What's this about? What is the inside joke?
Hit me an email on that one. I'm guessing that's a jersey having trouble finding its way across the pond, but I don't know for sure. That would be my guess.
Okay.
I haven't been involved with the sending of that, so we'll figure it out offline.
Okay. Rod Bass saying Buenos Dias from Ecuador. Ecuador, beautiful country down there. I have a buddy who is from Ecuador. It looks like a beautiful, beautiful place. Love to get there. Some fun mountains that are worth climbing. We got Dave Glassman saying Paxton Lynch cut by the Canada Football League. Have to laugh to not cry. Yeah. Paxton Lynch is gone. He's going to have a chance to go to the USFL, and it was always a likelihood because Paxton Lynch couldn't travel with his team because of his status in regard to the sick bug, because he wouldn't do things that Canada wanted you to do. So see you, Paxton. Good luck to you.
Reminds me of Major League when they're having an exhibition with the Yankees and the Indians, and looks back. Clu Haywood looks back, says, "Taylor, what are you doing back up here?" And he says, "I wasn't cutting it in the Mexican League."
God, he's
Paxton wasn't cutting it in the CFL. Maybe he'll get another chance. Maybe he'll get another chance as a third quarterback somewhere else.
Yeah, and this is weird for me too. And I know this is probably really opposite of a lot of people's thought process. And the Broncos probably should never have taken Paxton Lynch because of the inherent characteristics you need for a quarterback as far as intelligence and drive. But taking a quarterback with arm talent and some athleticism at 26 overall in a draft where you didn't have a guy, I don't think, in hindsight, where I'm standing now, I didn't like it then because I didn't like Paxton Lynch. Where I'm at now, I don't think that's a terrible shot, and it's kind of where I stand with a lot of guys in this class. The issue is when you should have known almost day one that this guy's a complete doofus and we messed up. So you go back to the draft, the Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson year, or the year after that. It's this. The sin isn't taking the swing on the guy, although if he's that much of a dumbass and you didn't know that, that's a sin. But it's then spending 2 or 3 years after he's obviously not the guy where you're like, oh, maybe he can be. No, you don't wait on dumbassery. I'm sorry. You go out there and get a better option at the quarterback position. Drives me insane. But that's just, we've grown. That's where I'm at these days.
Miguel, thanks for the stars. Says, good morning, fellas. Hope you're loving the snow. Nick, are you getting snow in Seattle?
Oh my God. Yes. There's about an inch, half an inch on everything. I'm gonna have to go out there and scrape off the car. And it's icy too,
yeah,
so
and as hilly as Seattle is, that can be rough. I mean,
I'm curious what clinic is going to look like this week, because it's going to also not get above freezing. We are on record lows these next few days as well. And all our flowers are starting to pop
in northern New Mexico. Remember a couple days ago, it seemed like you were really warm and it was really cold here. Well, it's supposed to be in the 70s here in Atlanta today. So Michael Ranquillo coming in. How many? I have to like check again. 5,000 stars.
Yeah,
Michael,
you're
humble us, dude.
That's awesome.
Just absolutely amazing what you're gonna do. So I've been thinking, like, when you get your jersey, do you want a custom job? Do you want like MHH Fan 1 or Ranquillo 1 on the back? Let us know. You can
Broncos for breakfast.
We can get a custom job. Mine says Champions of Europe on the back of it. So
there you go.
But I earned that one along with these 2 stars. So
nothing. All right.
For the 2 times. So yeah, you let us know if you want a custom job on something like this, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
Chris Hernandez says, good morning, all. Enjoy the show. We'll enjoy you being here, Chris.
Yeah,
thank you
Chris.
very much. And Michael's also coming with more stars. Just say hello to everybody else.
Man.
So what kind of guy? Jacob coming in. Everybody's checking in today. Jacob with big stars today. So we're off to a flying start. What do you guys want to talk about? This is your show today. So I know we wanted to talk a little bit about the combine, and Chris likes this about, having a statute of limitations on dumbassery. I'll forgive you once, but man, don't keep making this. We talked about this. Don't keep compounding mistakes. Yeah. Had this discussion building a baseball team. It's like, okay, you made a mistake taking this guy. Oh, well, we can't take another player because that'll put us at 13. I'm like, well, we're at 12 because you took the kid you weren't supposed to. Don't turn away this freaking stud because you took this kid. Don't keep compounding mistakes. Don't be afraid to fix it, which was what Nick was saying, which was a good point.
Yeah, and if there's any position that it's worth over-investing in, it is the quarterback position, because if teams like the Colts are willing to give up a second-round pick and a future first, and teams like the Panthers are willing to give up multiple day 2 picks for quarterbacks who have been legit trash in the league, you can still typically get a decent return on your investment, even if they're not the guy. So I don't know. I think that, the biggest issue is when you commit too long on the wrong guy. Then those are years down the drain. Peter Middleton coming in. Why so many are against it this year? Maybe because of their stats would be bad in comparison to previous years. Is he discussing drafting a quarterback?
I don't know what that means. I was hoping you did.
Maybe he's talking about the NFL Combine here, which is the title of the episode. Why are so
Oh,
many
yeah, yeah.
against it here? So the big thing was they were NFL, very hypocritical. After opening up everything for money at the Super Bowl, definitely
You might
normal
say
rating.
money, but you might say common sense also, depending on which
Yeah,
side of the coin you're on.
yeah. Oh, okay. But why would they have it for one and not the other? Because they're not getting money for opening the combine in comparison to the Super Bowl.
Until your broadcast partner starts saying, hey,
Yeah.
we got a problem here. And again, I blame lawyers for everything. Ethan DWI, I apologize, but in this country, the civility, I call it tyranny of the minority, and I don't mean skin color or anything like that. I mean, 1 million people walk through Starbucks with their dogs. One dog bites somebody out of a million, and all of a sudden you cannot have dogs anymore. That is 1 out of a million, and that is a tyranny of the minority because the one dog cost Starbucks $50 million. And that's insane. So this, again, the illusion of security, that's what the NFL Combine was trying to do. The illusion of security, the illusion of safety with a bunch of healthy athletes who have the technology and everything available to keep themselves safe. And they're trying to squeeze them down because of liability concerns, not because anybody's worried about getting sick, not because anybody's worried about their health, but for liability. And that's ridiculous. Okay.
Yeah.
I think part of it now, at least for a little while.
I think a lot of it too is the NFL Combine. They always do it where it's essentially, I don't know if we have any Greek life people in here, but they're making these guys pledge. It's a pledge period where they're hazing these prospects almost essentially where they're getting no sleep. They have to be up at the medical building at 3 a.m. They're asking them really inappropriate questions. I mean, it sounds like they're pledging and hazing these the heck out of these prospects. And part of it too was making them uncomfortable. And you know what makes you uncomfortable? If your team, your trainers, your coaches, et cetera, aren't allowed there. They're trying to throw you off your game to see what you look like in adversity situations. They went a little bit too far, and also a lot of leverage with the players in this situation because we didn't have a combine last year. Guess what? The best players were still taken, for the most part, at the top of the draft. The combines and teams, for the most part, a lot of teams, I know for a fact, are starting to go away from these archaic, I'll just call it archaic, combine measurements because they have GPS data, which, you know what matters more than running a 40-yard dash? What a guy actually measures at, what his joules are when he makes contact with a player.
Not just
on
game
the field.
speed, baby, game speed.
Yes, exactly. So what really matters for the NFL Combine as far as player evaluation is the medicals, the size measurements, and the interviews. But the actual testing, it's fun. It's big money for TV because this is, I mean, NFL 365 days a year. They're still on the clock, right? Even though the season's over, you're still making money.
They've got to have content.
And
it's good content for them, and it's B-roll that they can use on all their talking shows 100%. For the next 6 months.
It's driving the narrative, and also it is the combine happening a big time business because this is where a lot of connections and information gets out. You're going to notice after the combine that a lot of new narratives will pop up and a lot of mock drafts and stuff like that will shift drastically. What changed? Not the information as far as the actual combine. It's the information from these media folks and the teams and the players that are all getting circulated after hours, having a few drinks at St. Elmo's, and new information comes out there. So it's a big event, but the combine itself, for the event that it itself is with the testing, I think it might be going away. I could see that to a sense going away, and teams, players specifically, leaning into the pro days because you're still getting the measurements. Why if I'm a quarterback, let's say I'm a quarterback and I'm going to the NFL Combine, why would I want to throw at the NFL Combine with receivers I've never thrown before when I can have a very regimented program at my pro day with receivers that I've thrown with every day for months now? It just doesn't make sense.
That's what I said about Kenny Pickett. Going to the Senior Bowl, I applaud the fact that Kenny Pickett went to the Senior Bowl, but he had really nothing to gain there. He really didn't.
Other than the interviews.
Yeah, but he went out there and it's tough. You want these guys to compete. You want to see that they can compete. But at some point when you're, being talked about in the top 10, there's only one way to go, down. Yep. And so it's tough. I get it. The combine won't go away. It just may be more for day 2 guys. It may be 3rd through 7, 3rd through 10, trying to get up in their 7 guys, which is good. I mean, again, that's how you're going to help build your team. I want to know, the pro days are fine and stuff, and make sure you get those measurements, but not everybody can make every single pro day. So the combine combines. I mean, that's two different uses of the same word. But if I can go to one place and see 150 guys, as opposed to having to go to, 60 places to see 150 guys, it makes it a whole lot easier on me.
Yeah, I just could see the top guys opting out of the actual events themselves, other than the interviews, the medicals. But the actual 40-yard dash, I don't know if I'd make them do it, because if you can't tell I'm fast by the tape, then what are we doing here? It's confirmation to the tape. And a lot of teams use the combine to separate guys who are close. It's a scouting cliche, but I love it. It's really stuck with me. I think it was Bucky Brooks who said it, where a lot of teams right now are getting their boards set together because you want to make sure that you're getting these players in the right neighborhood, right range of where they're at, and then use the combine, some other data to find them the right house. So you want to make sure that you get them in the right general area. And then once you have them in that cluster, maybe something like arm length, the 40-yard dash, or a medical or an interview will get them into their specific house and slot your big board.
Addison has a nice question at 45 after. I want to come back to you because I want to put a bow on this one with Peter coming back. Said, would you really rise someone up the draft board due to their combine results? Abso-freaking-lutely. Yeah. Or worse, if you move one guy down, however many places you move down, that many guys just moved up. So I love Jeremy Johnson. I think Jeremy Johnson could be a top 10 guy if he can confirm the athleticism that he shows on the field, and it's not just happenstance. I mean, he's shown to be a good player, but there's still got to be that the guys at the very top have top level athleticism, top level production. I've seen the production. I've seen it. Now I also want to know, is it going to translate once he goes up against NFL-sized, skilled, aged players? Because you're not just going against college guys anymore. You're going against guys that were better than all these college guys that have survived the NFL for 3 to 10 years. Yep. So it's not just beating up your peers. There's a zillion, especially the quarterback position, that were really good college quarterbacks, and running back position, really good college running backs, but they just didn't have the physical ability to take the next step. So yeah, absolutely. I'm very interested in Aiden Hutchinson's numbers. I'm very interested in Kayvon Thibodeau's numbers. Yep. All of these edges, Majai Sanders, Jermaine Johnson. I can't wait. I want to see Travis Jones. I want to see all these guys. Yep. Absolutely, it makes a difference. It's not how it will help you sort your board. It's not going to get a guy onto the board or off of the board.
It can get a guy off the board. I was going to say it can get a guy off the board because some teams have some very strict measurements.
But you know what I mean? If I got a guy in the top first round, he's not going to fall off the board. I might say, okay, let's slide him down to the second.
Unless he fails a medical or something, but there's things like, I know this is just hearsay, and I feel like every single thing we've heard from George Paton so far over the last year should be taken with a little skepticism. I think in a past life, George Paton was a CIA agent in a Cold War. I mean,
what did I just say about press conferences, Nick?
Yeah, BS. Coach speak. George Paton's a masterclass in that. But as far as, oh man, I lost my point. Broncos apparently have a pretty strict and stringent threshold on hand size that would maybe take Kenny Pickett completely off their board, if not kick him down the draft class. If he doesn't come in at, I think, 9 to 9.25, which is not likely. Otherwise they'd love it.
They know about that going in, so he might not be on the board.
They just need to confirm it, though.
But you know what I mean. Yep. There might be a guy, but yes, combine results matter. They absolutely matter, or they wouldn't do it, and they wouldn't send a scout to every single one of those. And guess what? Oh, it was a handheld time. Watch what every scout has in their hand when they're watching these events. They got their own watch too.
Who was it? Charles Casserly? That was like aiming it down the
every
sight.
Single one. I always shot mine like this. I always pointed and shot it like pulling a trigger.
Yeah.
Addison coming in. Appreciate the super, my friend. He says, if the rumors are true about Brady going to the 49ers, I'd like the Broncos to try and steal Lance. 1 first and a second and a third would do it. You think? All right, I'll hit on this one first, Nick, and then I'll hand it over to you. I didn't know about the rumors for Brady to the 49ers, honestly. I hadn't seen that, haven't been paying that close attention to it. But no, I don't think a team that gave up 3 first-rounders is going to take a first, a second, and a third for their second-year guy, unless they don't want him.
Yeah.
And because for a 40, how old is he now? I don't know. He's too old for maybe one more year. Otherwise, you'd want him to sit for one more year and come in year 3, and now I still have 3 years of cost control over Trey Lance with Tom Brady coming. I'm not giving away Trey Lance unless it's because I don't want him. And if they're willing to give him away for 1 first and a second and a third after spending 3 firsts on him, you don't want him either.
I think that I agree with you there. However, if it was 2 1s and a 2, maybe they start to get interested because maybe they think they can get 2 years of Brady, 3 years of Brady left, especially in that system where he is going to be protected a lot by the run game. So I would be interested. And I know there is a lot of discourse with Trey Lance last year, 1 year of tape when he was 18 years old, moving over from safety to quarterback, a year off, and North Dakota State, all these things. If Trey Lance was in this draft, he would be going 1.1 overall. The Jags would be trading out and somebody would be giving up a bleep ton to move up to get Trey Lance because there's not another quarterback in this class that possesses his combination of clean-ish mechanics and tools. Malik Willis is probably the most similar, but Malik Willis is, 4 years older, 3 years older than Trey Lance was coming out, and I think his throwing mechanics are worse than Trey Lance as well. So, I mean, God, also people rave about Trey Lance's intelligence. So I don't think the 49ers will trade him. He gave up all that. I agree with you. He's still young. Ideally, you have a succession plan there. But maybe if the Broncos were aggressive,
they're willing to give him up for a first, a second, or third, you don't want him.
Yep, that's too little.
That's too low.
Yep.
If you offer something lower than that and then you raise it to that, obviously nobody takes the first offer anyway.
Yeah.
So if you say, we'll give you a first and a second, and they say no, and you kick in a third and they say yes, run and hide. There was an old saying with the Atlanta Braves. I think it was Lou Piniella who ended up in Seattle at the time.
Oh, I remember Lou.
He said, if the Atlanta Braves come to you and start talking pitchers, run and hide. Run and hide, because they're either going to rob you or they're going to dump a guy that they don't want. Mm-hmm. So I feel that way about Trey Lance. If you can get him for a first, it's because the 49ers don't want him anymore. There's no way they give up on him that quick for a first, a second, and a third for what they poured into him, unless they don't want him anymore.
And Ethan earlier was talking about Javonte Williams. He wants him in our banner. So I'm not in charge of that, but I got to say it would be very off-brand for me personally to feature a running back in anything. So that would be, I think that would be against the spirit of the show that I'm involved in, although I do love Javonte Williams. Speaking of positional value, Sean Burns coming in. Should the Broncos go after value or position when it comes to the first pick in this draft? The Broncos are sitting at 9, and that means there are 8 picks in front of them with countless situations. If you guys remember, we're going to do math on the show, factorial, right? There's the amount of situations are possible is 9 factorial, where it could play out in a certain different way. So countless situations for the Broncos. I think my math is wrong. Somebody's going to at me. Actually, it's 8 or something. I don't know. But who knows how the Broncos are going to play out? You're a team that is picking in the top 10 for the second straight year at 9. You're a team that has had 3 or 4 straight losing seasons. You haven't made the playoffs since 2015. You need to go with value and see who the board is there and who's the most likely to end up a Pro Bowler / Hall of Famer with that pick. That's how you need to look at it. Obviously, you want to bake in positional value to an extent, like Tyler Linderbaum. I love him. He's 6'2", 290 pounds. That's a concern, especially when you're going up against nose guards. And like Chris Jones, who's 6'5", 300 with 35-inch arms. Like Tyler Linderbaum might get eaten by Chris Jones. I don't want that matchup. So that's some stuff you want to bake in. But you still always go with value when it comes to the draft regardless. You want to set yourself up roster-wise in free agency where you don't have those holes, or you have options available post-draft where you can fill those holes. You don't want to go in where it's like, if I don't draft position X at slot 9, my season's over and I can't function as a team. You've already failed at that point. So you want to go with value. Maybe Kyle Hamilton falls. Maybe you love Derek Stingley. Maybe it's Devin Lloyd. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. This is a wild draft after the first 4 or 5 picks. So we'll see, but you always want to go with value.
Sean, the best drafts are when you can match the best player available with a need. Mm-hmm. But you don't want to reach for a need to fill. You don't want to reach, pass over best players to reach to fill a need. That's how you end up with guys that can't play.
Yep.
And what will kill you isn't filling the need, isn't missing on the need. It's getting guys on your roster and wasting the opportunity cost of a guy that can't play.
Absolutely. Mark Schrader, I don't think we gave him a shout out earlier, but good morning, guys.
From Tyler, he came back in and I scrolled off of him too. So he's got a super question in here. as well. Mark, it was about who are our favorite, and I started looking at, here it is. That's the one I'm looking for. So good morning, guys, from Tyler, Texas, and thanks for the humongous stars again, Mark. So who are your top 1 or 2 offensive tackles after the first round? Nick, I'll let you go ahead and go first.
After the first round? Okay, so the Broncos are going to be looking.
Okay, and I'll say that Penning and Cross are in the first round. Everybody else is available.
Yeah, so the Broncos are going to be looking for wide zone style tackles. So that stylistically, we're looking for something, the antithesis of Daniel Falele, who is like 6'8", 400 pounds, who, not really going to be good at reach blocking, not going to be great at getting to the second level and getting to a spot that is required for the zone scheme. So I know he's one that everybody loves to talk about, but I don't think it's happening with him for Denver this year. I'm going to throw out 3 different names here off the top of my head that makes some sense to me. There's Nicholas Petit-Frere from Ohio State. Now, he did get taken to the woodshed by Aiden Hutchinson, who, half-manned him and played him to his chest. I'm a little bit concerned with Nicholas Petit-Frere because I don't see functional anchor strength. I think he's better at right tackle than left tackle. He moves well, but when you go at him, he can get displaced. Talking about him, end of the third round, though, he's got the movement skills and the size to actually play tackle, so that's that's a calculated shot if you think you can work on that anchor. Some teams do, some teams don't. We'll see. Max Mitchell is one who can intrigues me a lot from Louisiana. He's a developmental right tackle, no doubt. Also talking mid-third. You're talking about outside the first round. Typically tackles a first round or bust position. He's one as well that makes some sense. And then also, it'll probably take a year to work on his run blocking, but I thought that there are flashes there, especially with pass protection. He's got the size. Abraham Lucas from Washington State, a little bit of versatility, left tackle, right tackle. He's been hyped up as a pass protector for years. Probably gonna need some time for the run scheme stuff, but I think he moves well enough, not incredibly, but moves well enough where he's somebody that you could consider there end of day 2 as well.
So I'm a little surprised. I didn't know where he was ranked when you talked about Abraham Lucas. So I was like, is he like a 7th round guy? Because Mark's saying the top 1 or 2 guys. I'm like, I don't know if he comes up that high, but I liked him. When I was going through, whose video did I do last night? One of the edge guys. I think it may have been Kingsley Enagbare. I'd have to check, but I couldn't use his one-on-ones because Abraham Lucas stoned him. So when I have Abraham Lucas video, when I cut his up in the next day or so, you're gonna see Kingsley Enagbare running into a brick wall on the edge, and just a huge base. One of those guys that could sit back and rock back and still control a guy without getting bent all the way backwards, like you saw Travis Jones doing with some of the guys. Let me bring up a video file for you here real quick, because another guy I like talk about developmental guys is Braxton Jones. Out of Southern Utah. So I did his video just a day or so ago. Oh, it was Majai Sanders. It wasn't Kingsley. It was Majai Sanders who had his hands full with Abraham Lucas. And then Braxton Jones, 7-foot wingspan on this kid. So, really light on his feet and has a huge reach. He's 6'5" already. He's 6'5", 306 pounds. And, when we're talking tackles, I think if you're taking a guy, out of the first round, you don't care if it's left or right or whatnot, but, great feet. Look at the base on him and the reach. So I really like Braxton Jones.
Yeah.
I think he is definitely a guy to watch. And I thought that Abraham Lucas was a nice shout, Nick. There's a kid from Virginia Tech coming off the left end, right tackle. How's that look on your right tackle? Be okay?
Yeah, I would say so.
And this is him going against Kingsley, the edge from South Carolina. So I really like him. Appreciate the question, Mark. So Braxton Jones, a smaller school guy to watch. And then I don't think you mentioned Bernard Raymond, Central Michigan.
I think he's a first rounder.
Okay.
I would be shocked if he doesn't go in the first 25 picks from what I've heard.
6'6", 304.
He's an excellent zone fit. Like if he's there at 40,
to keep an eye on. And Kareem Gomez had a question just about that same time, about 10 minutes ago. Aside from the 40 times, what drill do you look forward to the most? To me, honestly, Kareem, the 40 times are for show. It's kind of like batting practice in the home run derby. When anybody can hit home runs in batting practice. The 40 times, I watch these trained up white kids in North Metro Atlanta who've had personal trainers from the time they were 12 years old, ripping off 4.5s. But they're not athletes. They're not great athletes.
Yep.
Because what I want to see then is the shuttle, the L cone, the broad jump, the vertical jump, the change of direction, and the explosion drills. I like all 4 of those. Maybe not all 4 of those, but I definitely like the L cone and shuttle better than the 40, without a doubt. So when I used to get combine events from high school, I would sort, because honestly, people didn't realize how important they were, so they didn't cheat them as bad either. But I would sort. I'd sort my spreadsheet by shuttle time and by L cone time from lowest to highest. I'm like, here are your athletes right here. Forget the 40 time. If you see one of these guys run a sub 4, they can play any position they want in the NFL. So look at your shuttle times, look at your L cones or 3-cone drill. Same thing. Good question though. Good question.
Yeah, for me, the 40-yard dash is overhyped, but what's not overhyped of it is the 10-yard split from the 40-yard dash. How quickly you can get up to top speed matters for every position. So the 10-yard split, if you can take that out of the 40,
that shows up, Nick, the shuttle.
Yep, on the
shuttle.
That's
your burst.
Yep.
A guy that's got a good 10-yard split is going to be an advanced shuttle, because that's your burst. That's your change of direction. That's your power and your butt, hips, and legs and thighs and your explosion. So your change of direction in there. So I agree with you. I just kind of look at it in a different area sometimes.
Totally. I think football players that I like are explosive, and the best way to measure explosion is the jumps. It's the lower body jumps. The vert and the broad are very valuable. Bench press, I don't really care so much about. Also, this one is maybe going to be a little bit glossed over, but as far as event, I think the measurements as far as the size really do matter, because big guys who run fast are better than small guys who run fast. So if I have a guy who's 6'5", 260 running a 4.5 40 versus a guy who is 6'1", 220, and they play the same position, by God, the 6'5" guy is incredible and a much better prospect for the most part. Obviously, there could be circumstances that don't make that the case. And guys, station identification real quick. Broncos for breakfast. Thanks for joining in. I only see 11 likes right now on my side of things, but there's 163 people walking. So please,
that's different. The only one you see are the Facebook ones.
Well, Facebook, step it up, baby. We also have
we got 30 on Facebook, and I just liked one because I'm one of the folks watching. So the folks on Facebook that have watched: Amy, Mark, Brandon, Ken Booker, Aaron Johnson, Kareem, and then there's 5 more that I can't see.
Yep, it says plus 5 more. But either way, we also got an angry react from Brandon Smallwood. I'm sorry, Brandon.
From Brandon. Brandon's pissed. Brandon, what are you mad about? Brandon Smallwood's mad at us. Mad at something.
Yeah, that's get mad online, baby. It's a good time.
Okay. I'm always. That's my secret. You know my secret? I'm always angry.
Yep, exactly. Wyatt Horning coming in. Go Hawks, Wyatt. Good to see you. Trading back to 15-ish and bringing in more draft capital is the option I think they should take. Draft to tackle or edge with that pick, then use capital to trade back in the first and grab a position you didn't take, whether it be tackle or edge. Ideally, that would be great. I would honestly like to trade back further than 15, because the further back you go, the more likely you're going to be getting a future first-round pick. And if you're not getting a quarterback this year, you need to put yourself in a position like honestly, kind of like the Eagles are right now, where they have 3 first-round picks. Bad year to have 3 first-round picks compared to some other years, but still they have 3 first-round picks. That's going to help them tremendously. So I'm looking to trade back even further, hopefully, to get myself better 2023 capital. But you're right, tackle and edge, those are 2 positions that the Broncos need. They're set up to make an investment on. And I wrote, I was very busy yesterday, Scott. I went to the office at right after the show and was there until about 9 p.m. I did a bunch of work at work for President's Day, but I also sat down and wrote 4 articles for Chad. I told you I'd get through to my February number. But Broncos last year, we've talked about it on here a few times, 32nd per ESPN's pass rush win rate, worst pass rush team in the NFL. 31st according to Pro Football Focus. It's either the Falcons or the Broncos that are the worst in the defensive line.
It's amazing how many similarities we have. It's like, you don't want to talk Falcons and Broncos, but my God, they're right here in so many things, including draft pick, bad pass rush.
Yep. Horrible pass rush, but also the investment on the Broncos defensive front right now. Now, I know Shelby Harris got a decent sized contract, so this one's a little tongue in cheek to make my point, but how many, out of the Broncos' top 8 snap earners on the defensive line, edge rusher and interior defensive line, how many of them were 7th round picks or undrafted free agent?
All right, say it again, because I was answering Travis's. When is the combine this year? I usually know and watch some of it. I think it's the April. No, the combine. I'm sorry, the draft is April 28th. The combine is coming up.
I think it's March 1st.
A couple weeks.
I think the events kick off March 3rd, but like interviews and stuff kick off March 1st.
Yeah, that's in 2 weeks. So probably 2 weeks from Thursday, somewhere in that neighborhood. So
Yep.
so when I said 428, that's combine. So
Yep.
all the pro days for the next 6 weeks after the combine.
100%. But the Broncos defensive line, how the team is built, maybe this is building the Broncos topic, but I digress. You had your 8 top snap earners that had 300 plus snaps last year on the defensive line, edge rusher and interior defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
How many of those eight players were either 7th round picks or undrafted free agents?
I don't know what everybody did. Malik Willis, I don't know where he was gotten. I know that Jonathan Cooper was a 7th round pick, but I don't know the other guys as much to know.
The only player on the Broncos front last year that played 300 plus snaps out of 8 players that was not a 7th round pick or an undrafted free agent was Draymond Jones. Every single other one of your players up front was either an undrafted free agent or a former 7th round pick. Now, obviously, Shelby Harris has outdone his 7th round draft status, but that's a unit that is not littered with premium investments as far as draft capital goes. And guess what happens?
Line doesn't matter.
Oh,
front 7 doesn't matter.
You're not getting the body types that you need there. It's such a niche and specific type of bodies that you need. It's
time. This is a draft. It's time.
It is time.
You could go 3 edge guys. I've done mocks where I've gone 3 edges.
Yep.
You could do that for the Broncos. Literally, you could go 3 edges. You got how many picks do you have in the top 100?
5.
You could go 3 edges in the top 100. No doubt in my mind.
Yep.
Offensive tackle with one of the other ones.
Yep, but this is a very much you get what you pay for, and I think Harris is a fine, C+ level starter compared to the league. Draymond's probably a B+, but your front 7 last year was bad. And you have some hope with some young guys, but they were bad, and everybody's like, oh, see, this is why Vic Fangio's bad. Vic Fangio squeezed blood out of a rock last year when the Broncos front 7, especially at the linebacker position. The fact that they were the number 3 scoring defense, despite the issues on the front 7, is insane to me. So again, this Broncos team needs to invest in the defensive front in the worst way. I know quarterback clouds everything, as it should, because it's that valuable, but you lack the horses up front, period, end of story. And until you get that, I expect pretty big regression this year from the defense because of that.
So BX Bronco Jedi says, which 3 could we get? Okay, let's say you get one of the guys in the first round at 9, David Ajabo, Boye Mafe with your first pick in the second round, Majai Sanders with your second pick in the second round. All 3 of those guys could be available at that time. So you go back to the Senior Bowl stuff, and I look at edge. Let me see. Sam Williams could be there at 40. Love him. D'Angelo Malone should be available later. 6'3", 235 pounds, 80-inch wingspan, and bounces up and down like a friggin' pogo stick. I love his energy from Western Kentucky. Late rounds. I mentioned Boye Mafe. I'm not a huge fan of Tyreek Smith. Kingsley and Egbare could be second round, third round guy. Who is it? You mentioned, was there a Cameron Thomas? I didn't see Cameron Thomas play edge, but another one that could be in that neighborhood. So, maybe Jermaine Johnson's there at 9. There's edges that could have, again, there could be 3 in the top 100 that you could be really excited about. And that's fun. That's going to be fun.
Yep. Absolutely. It will be fun. Some other names that are worth talking about. Sam Williams, he's going to have to answer for a sexual battery charge that was dropped, but still, that's a serious thing that's happened. So that's why the draft process matters, because you're going to flesh that out. But he is an incredibly explosive athlete. A lot of fun to watch. Malik Willis Ole Miss game, Sam Williams was just hunting him the whole game. I really like Arnold Ebiketie from Penn State as well. Jesse Luketa, who played, Jesse Luketa is going to be used all across. He's going to be Sam, he's going to be Mike, he's going to be Will, he's going to be drop down playing on the line of scrimmage. I really like Jesse Luketa as well. Is this Sam Williams?
That's Sam Williams. Yep. You can just keep talking. I'll let this roll under while you're going through them.
Logan Hall intrigues me as well as somebody who super long, your base end that can kick into 3-tech on some downs. And I think teams playing sub package 70% of the time in today's NFL. So people are like, oh, what is he going to play in the 3-4-4-3? It's like, you know what? You're going to be rotating and playing different fronts so often anyway. You're going to find a usage for him. It really depends more on the technique you're demanding from your defensive lineman more than the front that you're using. But I digress. Drake Jackson is somebody also who is hyped up as a pick. A lot of tools, still really young.
3 in the top 100 is not out of the question. That's what you're pointing at. It's like you could go 3 edge guys and you could use them.
Yep,
you could
absolutely
use them for sure.
Absolutely. And Trevon Walker from Georgia is getting massive hype right now. Daniel Jeremiah said recently that teams think that he's going to be could be picked before Kayvon Thibodeau. And Hall is kind of a defensive tackle, but he's also an edge. We got from Jedi Bronco here. He's kind of a tweener right now. You could see him play in both spots, where I think these rotational players is also going to become more and more of a thing. Guys who where they are in base package is different than sub package, kind of like what we're seeing with Micah Parsons. You get smaller and you rotate further in the more you are in the pass game. So Micah Parsons goes from off ball to edge rusher in pass downs. Logan Hall goes from edge to 3 technique in those pass down situations.
So again, we've mentioned before, this is maybe not the draft you want to be in the top 5, but by goodness, it's going to be a fun draft to try and load up on depth, talented depth players in the trenches. And again, looking at the Broncos, looking at the Falcons, that's an exciting proposition because you could use an injection of youth and talent in the trenches on both sides of the ball, and there's a bunch of good players there.
Yep. Absolutely, absolutely. One guy that I don't really like in this edge group, but it's because I'm so out on finesse guys who don't have pop when they converting no speed to power means I'm out. Nick Benito. I just don't see it. I don't get it. But other than that, it's a really good edge class where a lot of these guys ranked in the top 100. I would take any of them. Personally, I like the more power guys that are the pocket crunchers that are good on first and second down because I want to have third and long so I can work some more unique blitz packages. But we'll see how it plays out. It's going to be fun.
Colin says, I'd like to see a show where you go back over your draft predictions from last year and see how accurate you were. This one for me will go a lot deeper. We've had a year and we'll got another 6 weeks to go after this one. So I'll be able to go a lot deeper on these guys. The one that I was highest on, that I was most vocal about teams passing over, was Justin Fields. So that's the one that we're going to have to watch. I love the guys in the top 12 of this draft. And so far, I haven't seen a miss on a position player. Have you? Of the top 12 in this draft of position players, my prediction about last year's draft was you're either going to get your quarterback of the future or, think you might, or you are going to get an exciting prospect that you'll have fun watching help your team play right away. And I said that because knowing the quarterbacks usually stink their first year.
Yep.
Flat out. Everybody with these hot takes ready to write off these quarterbacks. Most of them are going to really bad teams. Mm-hmm. That's why they're there. The one that had the most success, holy cow, he went to a decent team. Are you kidding?
He was also the one that was asked.
Trevor Lawrence was that they were going to get him killed. That was the fear with Trevor Lawrence. Not that he couldn't play the game, but the Jacksonville Jaguars couldn't play football. That's the fear. Justin Fields, I still like the potential. Is he ready to go? Not just yet. Zach Wilson, the Jets. I feel anybody has to go to the Jets. But Zach Wilson, what scared me about him watching him in the NFL last year was he seemed to struggle the most when he had time.
Yeah.
When he was able to freelance and bust the pocket and just let God-given talent take over. But as someone I once worked with a little bit said a long time ago, a busted play is no way to run an offense. That's no way to sustain an offense. And that's when he was best. You let him sit back there and pick something out, he was making bad decisions. Yep. And then we didn't see anything of Trey Lance. So, I wasn't expecting much out of the quarterbacks this year. They're rookies.
Yep.
So let's see what Jacksonville can do for them after the fact. So,
oh my God,
last deposit into the TFARF fund. TFARF. Today will be the day. You think so? Do you think today will be the day? Do we think we'll know today? If Aaron says I'm leaving, it's not the day yet because then you got to go get him. If he says I'm staying, I think it's done. I'm going to finish my career in Green Bay. If he comes out and says that, I think he's done. I think that would be it. Or if he retires, then he's done. I don't think he's retiring.
I just blacked out. What year is it? Ethan, my God. It could be today. Obviously, you have the Pat McAfee show, and you have Brian Gutekunst is going to have a interview or a press conference in, I think, Wednesday. So hopefully we'll have more then, but who knows? On the other note, will Broncos be picking up Fant 5th-year option? I would think they would, just because, like, when you look at Fant, it's like, oh, he hasn't done enough. He was the Broncos' leading target guy last year. You stack him up against other tight ends, and historically, tight ends take 3 to 4 years to develop. And also, this is a scheme that Fant should be better in.
He had his career high in receptions last year.
Yeah,
Teddy ruined Fant. He had his career high in receptions.
Yeah.
How ruined could he have been?
And Fant does need to be better after the catch, no doubt about it. It needs to be. I mean, you're 6'5", 255 pounds as an athlete. Like sometimes you need to make a guy miss, especially a defensive back. That we are scheming you to have a one-on-one in space against this safety. Go make a play. Just not enough plays in that situation.
So where was he drafted? What
20th
what
overall.
pick was he? 20th overall. So that's fairly close to where Calvin Ridley was taken, and Calvin Ridley's pick was supposed to his option was supposed to be 11 million this year.
Yeah.
So his 5th-year option, let's just call it inflation, 2 spots down. Let's call it 12 million. It depends. If that TFAR fund comes through, you might not have an extra 8 million for Fant.
You can make a lot of money next year. You have a lot of movable cap space in 2023. So if you have to, you can. No doubt about it.
You have to.
Yeah.
But do you want to try and move, $8 million around for Fant? That's the question. That's the question he's asking.
Yeah.
Let's just go ahead and say, yeah, because the TFAR fund's going to come through and Fant's going to be a weapon vertically like he should be. Instead of like we said before, I don't want Fant running button hooks. When we start talking about, I mentioned straight line speed versus the shuttles and the change of directions. If tight ends could move laterally, they'd be defensive ends. They'd be edge guys.
Yeah.
Tight ends are tight ends because they're not athletic enough to play defensive end. At least that's how it works in the South.
Yeah. Maybe not as much in the Midwest.
The big fast guys, they play defense. They play defensive end. They play outside linebacker. So you want to get him straight line fast. You want to get him moving down the seam. You want to get him the ball in motion and crosses where he can just keep his momentum going instead of turning and stopping and starting again. That's not his game. So I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, Ethan, because the quarterback is going to come and play from his strength because the TFAR fund came to fruition.
Yeah, and the other thing is, historically for tight ends, it takes 3 to 4 years, and Fant is on a pretty good trajectory, speaking from the historical baseline for tight ends. He's been a soft hit. I'm curious to see what he looks like this year. Last year, he was dealing with an ankle injury for the entire season that he suffered in that Seattle game, and also he was dealing with the sudden passing of his mother right before the season kicked off. That kind of put things in a weird situation for him. He's got to be better. He's got to work better with his run blocking. He's got to work better with his after the catch stuff, make guys miss. He needs to sink his hips a little lower when he's changing direction on routes, yada, yada. But he's still an athletic freak. And I would be interested in bringing him back for that 5th-year option. I do like it for the players, not for the Broncos in this situation, but I do like it that it's now completely guaranteed. Mm-hmm. But maybe that's not the best for the Broncos for where they sit. But he's a talented player, and if Fant was available right now, he'd get that contract on the open market, period. So is he worth it for the Broncos is the question. I mean, people want the athlete tight end, and he can play Y. He can play F or F. He can do a lot.
F that. I disagree.
You disagree? All right.
No, I just wanted to say F that.
And your Y tight end, folks, for those at home.
No, what I wanted to do was look up tight ends because 10 million puts you top 5 in cap hits for 2022. He's not a top 5 tight end. He doesn't get 10 million. He doesn't get 11 or 12 on the open market.
I think he would at 25 years old.
Nope.
At the athletic profile he has. Well, we'll see how it plays out. Time will reveal all truths.
I mean, you look at him right now, and it's George Kittle, Hunter Henry at 15, Jonnu Smith at 13.6, Austin Hooper at 13.2, Mark Andrews at 9, Travis Kelce at 8.8, Tyler Higbee at 8, Kyle Pitts at 7.5.
This all screams to me.
Hits.
This all screams to me. It doesn't matter who's paid. It matters when you're paid. And if Fant was available with the cap exploding with 2 or 3 of those guys you just named paid in the last cycle, I'm guessing that he's going to get paid. He's definitely better than Austin Hooper. He's definitely better than that other Patriots tight end that was mentioned there, Jonnu Smith, who wasn't even really used this year for them. So I think he would get paid.
I don't know. And also, like I said, there are 4 tight ends over 10 million right now, and his option will be between 11 and 12.
Yep.
Be tight. It'll be close. Again, it's a great question because it's not close. A slam dunk. There's good arguments for a yes, and there's good arguments for no, which will be fun. And it should be in his hands.
Yep. It
should be in his hands. Colin says when I was talking about big guys that can move, they'd be NBA power forwards. No, because 6'6" is short in the NBA.
Yeah.
A 6'6", 240-pound tight end is a beast.
Yep.
but that makes him a shooting guard, a fat shooting guard in the NBA. So it's a different level on there. Jacob coming in with more stars. You guys are just awesome. Just awesome. Coming with more stars with coffee. So let me finish this one off. I can see the grounds down there. I'm going to try not to drink the stuff that is chunky coffee. Ends up being a little rough, but he buys us a cup of coffee. Thank you, Jacob. And then Michael coming back in just a moment ago, talking about press conferences. Yes. So Nick hit on this earlier. Justin Alton, Ajiro Evero, and Dwayne Stukes will be introduced today on a press conference. So that'll be good. I'll have some cut-ups for y'all once those are done. And they, at the latest, they'll be up tomorrow morning on the show too. So I'll sit through the boring stuff and see if I can find anything that's interesting that they can say and cut them up into snippets for you on the Mile High Huddle YouTube page.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm really curious as far as sometimes I wish I was in that room, and I wish
Michael,
I had.
You're killing me here in a good way. Michael's coming back in with another 3,000 stars.
Oh my goodness. Great show today on Broncos.
You're awesome,
Breakfast
dude. I love
Nick
it.
And Scott. Thank you so much, Michael. Hope you're doing well down there in Tucson, Arizona. Hopefully you aren't getting hit with the cold front that we got hit with here in Seattle. But absolutely. And I got to get to this with Colin Wood. We're awfully patient with Fant and Judy, but not so much others who shall remain unnamed. The issue with quarterback is that they're only one that can take the field, and it's not a rotation of players. And also it's one where the bar is higher. I'm okay living with a top 20 tight end because there's a lot of different options and you can rotate them. If you're not a top 12, top 10 quarterback, I probably hate you. So that's it's a different perspective. And it should be because the quarterback is that much more valuable. Well, and I'm not saying boot Drew Lock into the or into the sun by any means, but gonna have to go out there and compete without a doubt.
And part of it's envy. You heard me rip off some money on there about tight ends. Let me change that to quarterback for the top guys. Cap hit 2022. What did I say? There were 4 guys over 10 million. Number 1, 48.6. Number 2, 46.6. Number 3, 45. Number 4, 40. Number 5, 38.6. Number 6, 37. These guys are making 4 or 5 times the money. We have a lot less patience as human beings when we see that dollar sign next to them. Not only because, as Nick is saying, and this isn't about Drew Lock. This is about the top quarterbacks in general, because this is what Matt Ryan gets in Atlanta.
Yep.
It's not just that only one can take the field, so he's the guy. It's also, if they've got that big cap hit, it's hindering your ability to spend in other places too. So I get it for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a big deal. And I was saying that, Colin, he should get a top 10 contract because of his age, not that he is top 10 right now. But his statistics line up pretty well with what you want for where he's at his age.
Close.
Hopefully it gets better with. Yeah, I mean, he's still an athletic freak, and that's one that matters more than the quarterback position. It's more translatable. I want it for my quarterback too, but alas. And also, yeah, shout out to Drew Lock. Congrats to him. Drew Lock got engaged over the weekend. That's great. I mean, I know that we talk and ridicule and critique to no end on here, but human being, hoping for nothing but the best for him. And fact that he's engaged now with the girl that he's been with for a while.
He's made enough money to live for the rest of his life if he's been good with it. So, enjoy, no matter what happens, enjoy the family and be happy, dude. Be happy.
Yep.
And,
it's a
Ryan
time.
coming in. Ryan, I don't recognize the name, but I'll remember it now. One, because it's close enough to, like, I've got a cousin Ryan and a wife Ryan, and no, we're not all from the South. But very easy to remember. And then the Chelsea background and my new Chelsea kit. This is the first day I've worn this one too. This is the this year's Champions League kit. So they do play today. And Elliot D coming in with a super from Page, Arizona. Thank you for the content. I miss football already. I wouldn't mind Ryan or Winston in Denver getting snaps. Ryan is a much better quarterback than I think he gets credit for.
Yeah, he is.
The mismanagement of that team, we could do a whole pod on it. If you want to, we can tomorrow morning over on my channel. If we want to get into the mismanagement of the Atlanta Falcons, we can. Trust me. I'll be all in on that one. Winston, Drew Lock's best would be Jameis Winston. A guy that's going to throw 35 touchdowns and 20 interceptions. I don't know that you want Jameis Winston. You might as well just turn Drew Lock loose. Go.
Unleash.
Unleash him. Go. Have fun out there. Throw it everywhere. You know, I mean, there were talks that, you know, oh, Jameis Winston's going to be so much better this year because he got his eyes fixed. He was colorblind. That was Vinny Testaverde too. He's getting LASIK. Vinny Testaverde was colorblind, threw a ton of interceptions.
Yep.
You know, and James coming in says that Jameis Winston tore up his knee. He did, and he was playing really well. But playing really well under Sean Payton is a different animal than coming into a new team, and playing really well for a team that has struggled offensively. So I don't want Jameis Winston unless you're playing the Falcons. Jameis Winston has lit up the Falcons. His career rating against the Atlanta Falcons is better than the career rating for Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. So yes, he literally turns into a better version of Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes when he's playing Atlanta twice a year. So the Panthers might want him.
Yeah.
But I'm not a huge fan of Jameis Winston as a guy. Maybe if you're looking to 2023 and we're going to package 4 picks together to move up to number 1 or number 2, maybe a bridge guy, but not as a long-term guy. He's actually still pretty young. He really is. It seems like he's been around forever, but he hasn't been around. And Elliot, thank you so much. Appreciate you being here. We have a lot of fun on the show, and we're so glad that you are too. And there was a couple months ago, and I remember this sticking out. Someone said, would love the show. I wish it was supported better. That in the comments saying we really like the show, but I wish it got the support of, you know, the evening shows. It does now, thanks to you. It absolutely does. It gets the support of the evening shows, which means at the very least, we're going to do more of them. We're not going anywhere because you guys have turned this into a viable product for us, and we can't thank you enough.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Somebody had a question about interior defensive linemen that the Broncos could target. If the Broncos trade down to or somehow end up in
part of his. You get me talk about Chelsea. I start forgetting about defensive tackles, but that was Ryan. Lots of interior defensive line.
Yeah, there is some good interior defensive line. That said, does every single one fit what Denver wants to do? If this is a team that's not, it's going to be using more gap and a half technique up front and space eating to minimize the number of bodies in the run defense, and that way to maximize coverage bodies in the back end. You're going to want more clogging power guys with some length and a wide base. So Jordan Davis makes sense. I think he's going to be a little expensive based on what he brings to the table. He's not Vita Vea. He's not even Dexter Lawrence as far as the athleticism goes. So I wouldn't take him in that top 15 range, top 20 range myself. I would much rather sit there and take Travis Jones at 40, who is pretty darn close to Jordan Davis. Maybe not as good of a run player, but I think equally explosive and can play the same niche. So you are looking for some defensive linemen there. I'm looking for somebody who can do some nose technique, whether it be 0 or 1, and still offer enough pass upside juice where they are not off the field in sub packages all the time. Now, obviously, you're going to rotate because it's the defensive line, but that's what I'm looking for.
And I think Travis Jones can be that guy.
Absolutely.
The guys that I like, again, that I think are scheme independent is someone like Devontae Wyatt or Perrion Winfrey, who are right at that 290 to 305 range, who I think can play a 3-4 end, but also slide inside and play a 4-3 defensive tackle, and should be available in that 25 to 45 range. And if Jones is gone when you're picking, if you don't trade back and want Davis at 15 or something, I don't think you want him at 9. It's questionable. No. You know, maybe you take a flyer on John Ridgeway out of Arkansas, 330 pounds in the 3rd or 4th to plug in and be that rock, that solid guy in the middle of your 3-4 defense. So we will see. We will see on those. But there's a lot of good, again, said it earlier, I'll say it again, a lot of good guys in the trenches that you love those picks in the 2nd and 3rd round in this draft.
Yeah, and I think I've been thinking a lot about Kentucky. Maybe it's because they beat Iowa in the playoffs. I also really think Will Levis is a fun quarterback prospect for next year. But they had a guy who was like 6'4", 360, former 4-star recruit, Marquand McCall, who eats some space and intrigues me a bit as a day 3 pick at the nose tackle position. So we'll see. It's definitely a position that Broncos need to invest in. But you got to have the board fall your way. As far as talking about Jameis Winston earlier, the thing that intrigues me about Jameis Winston is that he has spent the last 2 years working underneath Sean Payton. And last season, while It was an abbreviated season and definitely heavily influenced by how badly the Saints whipped the Packers week 1. His EPA was excellent as far as the targets, and that was a Saints team that was pretty devoid of talent on the boundary. Michael Thomas was not playing last year. The best they had was, the wide receiver who got like kicked out of Florida, or I can't remember. Callaway.
It doesn't narrow it down.
Yeah, God, sorry. Callaway. Marquez Callaway, I think is his name. Anyway, they were really devoid of talent at the pass catcher position.
Marquez Callaway.
Yep, outside of Alvin Kamara. So Jameis Winston does intrigue me to an extent. And Scott, I was listening to a shout out to not a competitor, but the Athletic podcast with Nate Tice, former son of Mike Tice, the coach for a long time in the NFL, and Robert Mays, I believe, over the Athletic. And they were talking about the scheme for this West Coast scheme, Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay. And they made a point that I'd never even thought about. This scheme is meant to give your young quarterback, easy answers because it's considered one of the least mentally demanding schemes for the quarterback. But
keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it simple, stupid. And I agree with you. But has there ever been a good young quarterback that has developed in this system? The answer is no. The answer is no, which is wild to me. But the only one you can make an argument for that was drafted and developed and became a good player in this Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay-esque West Coast scheme was Kirk Cousins. The rest of these guys that were dominant in the scheme were veterans running other more demanding schemes first and then plugged into the scheme. You talk about Matt Ryan. You talk about Aaron Rodgers. You talk about Matt Stafford. None of these quarterbacks were developed in this West Coast scheme. And with the Broncos, I keep hearing veteran quarterback, not quarterback in the draft this year, veteran quarterback. So it's interesting. Now your sample size isn't massive because
I want to look and see the circumstance on that. You know, what is, if you're running that offense in Jacksonville and you draft your number 1 guy and he goes, we'll see, we'll have a better idea because now Shanahan has earned the right for 3 more years. He's 6. So we're going to get to see, I believe we're going to get to see Trey Lance grow up and develop in that system. Because what are the circumstances like where you're coming into a team, you know, Sean McVay, they were in a win now. You know, they got close, they did well, and they're like, okay, this is what we need. We're going to go get it. And we're going to win this thing. So again, with a small sample size, I love the data, and then I want to ask questions.
Yeah, but
I don't have the answers. I'm asking the questions. I'm not saying, oh no, this is why. I want to know why.
Yeah, it's just a really interesting data point, and they talked about it on the show about how in the Shanahan scheme, it's meant to bake in answers no matter the coverage. Stars coming in from Michael again. God bless you, Michael. You're amazing. That the answers are baked into it, and a young quarterback will get to that check down based on the read, which is equivalent to a single. But a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers or Matt Ryan, who have seen other things and have had more on their plate mentally, will be like, you know what, that check down's there. But based on the coverage and all these other things, I know that this backside dig is going to be open, which is the equivalent of a triple. You're not seeing from that young quarterbacks because by design, you're supposed to get to that check down. But these other quarterbacks who have had more on their plate mentally can get to that backside because of, again, they're just more cerebral players post snap. So again, I thought that was fascinating. Not a massive sample size. Football's not a massive sample size sport, but should maybe something to dig into more.
Going back to Jameis Winston to finish this. He was playing phenomenally last year. Mm-hmm. And what happened the last time someone, and he had 7 games, and what happened the last time someone went 5-0 with half the stats that Jameis Winston did for New Orleans?
Teddy.
The Carolina Panthers came and gave that guy a 3-year, $66 million Teddy Bridgewater contract is what happened.
Yep.
So Jameis, once he goes through his pro days and gets evaluated by the medical examiners, because he's an arm guy. He's not a runner. He can run, but he's all about that right arm of his. Once the knee is stable and all those things, he's going to be on deck to get paid because he's still young. Like I said, it feels like he's been around forever.
He's into the league
27 years old. He just turned 28, January 6th. His birthday's right next to mine. So he just turned 28. He's got another dozen years in this league. And if he plays like he did to start last year, and it was 7 games, you have 14 touchdowns against 3 interceptions?
Yeah, no, he
was. Multiply that by 2 and you go 28-6.
Yep.
I'll take that. That's going to make you a $30 million quarterback.
Yeah, and just also for those of you out there that are not as, definitely better with my defensive scheming than offensive scheming as far as my knowledge base. But Sean McVay, renowned that this scheme puts as much on the quarterback mentally pre-snap and post-snap as any scheme in football. And Jameis Winston has been in there for 2 years now, and hopefully working out some kinks. So, um, this is a long way for me to say that I'm intrigued. I would want to see what the contract looks like. I want to see what the market looks like, but I'm not ready to be totally out on him, because if there's anybody in this cycle that I think is possibly available guy that could end up being a home run hit, I think it's Jameis Winston. I really do, but I don't
I
want to pay him.
backtracked a little bit from a
Yeah.
no to a maybe, but he scares me. I mean,
Oh,
you're
absolutely.
still talking about a guy, 135 touchdowns, 91 interceptions. You know, he's 1 year removed from a 33 touchdown, 30 interception. He had double-digit interceptions his first 5 years in the league. And not just double digits. I'm talking like, 18, 14, 15, 30. There's can he mature? Yeah, again, he's still young. He's playing last year at 27 years old.
Yep.
Can he mature? Can he become a smarter quarterback? Willing to play more Matt Ryan-esque with a bigger arm. It's like, okay, I could maybe split those two safeties down there, or I can hit my back and pick up 15 yards in a first down.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see.
Yep.
But I do think that he played his way into a $30 million a year type of contract.
And then I'm out. But again, talking about it with the West Coast offense, the Kyle Shanahan McVay one, somebody like Jameis Winston who can go beyond and is also an incredibly intelligent, as far as academically speaking, player. I mean, offers from Stanford, etc. They've always talked about how intelligent he is. And then 2 years in Sean McVay, now you're coming to a system where the answers are baked into you, but you still have playing beyond those answers. I'm intrigued by the matchup. I do wonder if coming off the knee injury that changes things, what the market's going to look like, and if he has enough mobility that you want to run that the boots and the zone to hold that backside edge defender off those zone stretches. But again, if there's anyone in this cycle that is not going to cost you a bunch of draft capital, et cetera, that intrigues me. I don't think it's one that I would write off yet. And I'm glad you kind of circle back on that, because I'm intrigued. I want to see what the market looks like.
When we started this, I didn't think we'd spend 10 minutes talking about Jameis Winston. But you know what? We've talked about a lot of quarterbacks too much, so it was nice kind of digging into someone new for a change. On that note, I think it's about time you get us out of here.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much, Ethan, Michael Ronquillo, Mark, everybody else coming in, giving us the stars today. Jacob today coming in multiple times with the stars. Miguel,
Addison,
Elliot D.
Too many to name. So
yeah, you guys are
just
great.
Awesome, guys. We love you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. Sorry we didn't get to every single comment. Like Scott said earlier, we weren't sure what the market would be like when we first started the show, but it's really kind of blossomed, and a lot of people in here. So again, if you don't agree with anything we say in here, let us know. Let's have a conversation about it. Find me on Twitter at Nick Kendell MHH. I've been into work like crazy this week, so hopefully I have a little bit more time for the rest of the week, so I can get you on Twitter. Come at me. Let's have a fun conversation. Scott Kennedy, you can follow him on Twitter at Scout Kennedy. Also, make sure you're following us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you guys are joining us on Facebook today, please go to, or if you have a Facebook, please go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. Follow us on there, as well as facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. If you guys are on YouTube, please subscribe, like, and share to this show on YouTube, as well as following.
I'm going to interrupt you, Nick.
Yeah, you should. You should. Go ahead.
DWI guys, Ethan coming in from England, home of the champions of Europe, Chelsea Football Club, who play in the Champions League today at 3:00 Eastern. Watch leg one. They play 2 games, so the first one can be a little cagey sometimes.
Yep.
So I know Ethan will be watching. I'll be watching. He says, "Thanks, gents. Great show. You mean the world to us, man. Can't explain it. It really does. That's being able to do this for a living to a certain extent is a blessing. So thank you so much."
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. You guys be like Ethan, because I know he's subscribed to the show for sure. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share to this channel on YouTube, wherever your socials are, or your Facebook groups. You have some Bronco buddies or whatnot saying, "Hey, I'm hanging out in the morning with Nick and Scott, and I got my cup of coffee on my drive home or on my drive to work. Why don't you join me as well?" They're a fun time, and even though they, speak dumbassery, where that's the word of the day, constantly, we have a good time. So that's what it's about, right? We're filling the void and having a good time and hopefully learning something and having a laugh along the way. But please subscribe, like, and share on YouTube. We'll be live on Scott's channel tomorrow. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to talk about yet on
Me
Scott's
neither.
channel. No,
We'll what? There's been talk, and this will help decide it. There's been talk of the Falcons inquiring about Jordan Love with the Green Bay Packers. Again, it's all cyclical. So it might be something. We will talk about Aaron Rodgers. We will talk about Jordan Love on our show tomorrow on my channel.
Yep. And maybe we'll have resolution. Lord only knows, but make sure you're following at youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. Also, guys, if you're listening after the fact or you have an iTunes in general, I'm a podcast psychopath. I listen to everything on 2x speed as well. And just constant information churn. I listen to podcasts way more than I listen to music. Just give me all the info I can. I just want to have it all. Make sure you go into Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star rating and a review and a chance to win some swag every single month. Let's get on out of here before we talk pretty soon. We got DWI guys saying go Chelsea. Trevor just joining us a little late. Morning, Trevor. Sorry, gonna have to listen after the fact on the podcast side of things. And best you
hit the YouTube. Hit the comments on YouTube. That's where I go look. Usually maybe a couple hours after the show. I check there 2 or 3 times after every show. So that's where I go, is to the YouTube comments on Mile High Huddle, the Broncos for Breakfast. I'll check the comments on there and talk about it.
Yep. And real quick, Wyatt, I'm sorry, Scott, I keep dragging this out because I have too much fun in the mornings with you guys. What's the line with Locke as far as what he has to do to stay or not? God, I don't even know what it looks like. If Locke plays great, it's the Broncos. This is another reason that you really want to give yourself further solutions at the quarterback position, because you have 3 years of data on Locke. Now, say what you will about the circumstances surrounding him. It's been up and down. I think everybody can agree on that. But you only have 1 year of control left with Drew Lock. So if he plays great, is he going to want to come back? Is he going to mark himself out of price range, which you'd be willing to pay having him be here? Is he, given everything that's happened here, is he going to want to stay here? Who knows? So you do have him for 1 more year. He's cost controlled. He's young. He's got enough athleticism and arm talent for me, threshold wise, to be a dude. Hasn't been a dude yet, but I don't know. It's a tough situation. And that's the reason you want to give yourself other avenues to go forward, because that 1 year of control makes it tough. That's the cost control, the years of control. It's terminal for Locke.
All right. And here's my answer: a winning record, 9-8 or better, and a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio or better. Anything under that, and he's gone.
Yep. I'll even raise it 2.5 to 1. We love you guys
too. If he goes 28 and 14 touchdowns, interceptions, I kind of poke fun at the guys. It's like, oh, well, Gardner Minshew got another chance. He threw 15 interceptions. He threw 35 touchdowns. Yeah. That's the part that you guys leave off, is the 1-to-1 touchdown interception ratio ain't going to cut it. Yeah. Even if they go, 10-7, if he's 1-to-1 again, which he's been for his career, they're moving on.
Yep. Absolutely. We'll see how it plays out. Who knows with the Broncos quarterback situation? Congrats to Drew Lock on getting engaged. Hopefully we get some information about Rodgers today. Everybody tune in to see what Justin Outen, Ejiro Evero, and special teams coordinator, whose name is escaping me right now, have to say. I really hope that the Broncos media in person pushes those guys on some schematic preferences, but we'll see. Scott is, that's going to happen. Man, I would be digging into these guys. And we got Jacob again, one more time for good measure. Thank you so much, Jacob, for the stars. We'll see.
Big stars, too.
Big stars.
You guys kill it.
That's amazing.
Take the rest of the day off. I'm actually going to see, taking my son to his first concert. We're going to see Tremonti and Seven Dust tonight.
Okay. That sounds like heavy metal.
It's hard rock.
Okay. I think I've heard of Seven Dust. And how was birthday shenanigans yesterday?
Oh, it was fun. Good. The boy, my 12-year-old can freaking shoot. I mean, we're talking patterns like this. It was better than me. Mine, I blame my eye. I had a pattern like this, except the bullseye was over here. I could show you a picture of it. It's hilarious. I'm like, this is the difference between precision and accuracy. Very precise.
I was just going to say.
A pattern like this. It's all like every single hole, every single shot, hit every single one, like hit another of my shots. But they were all about 4.5 inches down to the left.
Man, Scott, you just made my statistical nerd heart skip when you talk about precision versus accuracy. I love it.
Very precise accuracy. Not so much.
Yeah. Yep. All right, guys. Well, we're going to get on out of here. You guys have a great rest of your day. Choose kindness, choose compassion. We'll see you tomorrow on Scott's channel. We'll see you tonight on Building the Broncos. Go Broncos.